So I'm out here driving around today. I'm giving some quotes, and it's the middle of September, so yeah, the new customers in terms of like lawn mowing, I mean, few and far between, right? Anyways, I'm giving a quote to a guy, and it's a guy with a property who just had some sod put down and that hasn't been cut yet. Because for anybody who knows about installing sod, you have to let the sod sit for a certain period of time before you can run a mower over it. Okay, so the grass is long, and so I'm going over there and I'm taking a look at his yard and I'm looking at it, do my measurements, and I, come up with the estimate. And the first estimate that I come up with is the dude's looking for a bi-weekly maintenance, basic mow, trim, and blow. And basically, the first quote I came up with was $130 per month for a bi-weekly estimate. So every 2 weeks, that's about $65, okay, per cut. And it was funny too, because when I came up with that, I'm like, all right, $130 a month, and I'm just looking at it, right? Once I come up with a price, I always take a look at the price. I look back at the property, think about how much sense it makes, consider it, then I send it, okay? So I was doing that. I'm like, $130 a month. I go look at the property and I'm like, no, maybe not. Maybe not. Some dude with a rider can come in here and undercut the heck out of me, right? Because it's a nice yard, it's flat, it's open, there's no gates. So yeah, this is definitely a yard where some dude can come in there with a rider, do it in half the time that I can, and pass on a lower price to the customer. So anyways, as I'm considering that, and I'm like, I should drop it down to $110 a month. I'm like, I should bring the price down to $110. And I'm like, no, I shouldn't. I'm like, what about $120? And I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Here we go. $130. First, just going $130. Bam. All right. And a little bit of an additional fee for the first mow because his grass is long. And I'm just like, screw it, man. I'm gonna send it. I send it. Waiting. And he responds back, and he's like, yep, okay, man, sounds good to me. What's your preferred method of payment? I'm like, what? I just threw that out there, bro. I just threw that out there. I'm like, this is definitely the first price that I came up with. Definitely do it for that. $130 a month. Here you go. I second guessed myself, and I thought about sending them for $110 or $120, and I'm like, no, man, screw it. $130 a month. Here you go. Waiting. Said, yeah, man, sounds good. Sign me up. Just imagine if I would have sent it to him for $110. He would have been like, oh yeah, man, sign me up. And I would have been missing out on an extra $10 per cut that I could have been getting. It's crazy, man. It's all up here, bro. It's all up here. I used to think going out and mowing a lawn for $30 was making a killing, dude. $30, okay? That's my minimum now, pretty much, okay? It's my minimum. And I used to think that a $30 mow was a lot. 4 years ago, I would have quoted that yard for about $30 or $35. Today, $65. It's all up here, man.